sometimes you talk to people, and most of the time people don't know anything. Most of the time people don't know what you're talking about because they didn't learn the same things. There's nothing wrong with you not knowing. But sometimes people think there is. People think that if you don't know, that means there's something wrong with you. And it doesn't. It just means you don't know. Simple. But the problem is that sometimes you'll tell people something and you're trying to teach them something or to enlighten them with something, and in the middle of the sentence they're showing their ignorance by saying, I know, yeah, I know. Why are they showing their ignorance by saying I know? Because number one, they show that they have no manners. So obviously they don't know. Two, even if you know, how do you know that everything I'm about to tell you, you know? I haven't completed what I was about to say. Three, they're stopping themselves from ever learning it. Because by saying I know, you're discouraging the speaker from continuing. So now, not only are you pretending to know, but now you're guaranteeing you'll never know. Because you keep telling people, I know. And people do this regularly. Yeah, I know. I know. Sure, I know. So why'd you ask the question if you know? I know. Why'd you ask then? I know. People, I know. People love to say I know. Because they have self-confidence issues. Last part about this one, the Mishberei Yam interprets this as a directive to express appreciation when one is taught something new. If one remains silent after learning a thought or an idea, his intellectual benefactor may get the impression that he already heard it. A truly learned person expresses his appreciation by saying, I never heard this before. Thank you for introducing me to this new idea. Translation to what I just said. Sometimes somebody's about to tell you a story that you know. You heard the story before. It's a Gemara story, it's Moshe Rabbeinu's story. You heard the story before. The Mishberei Yam is teaching you both musar about behavior and also how to really be a chacham. How? Never ever interrupt the story even if you know the story. Meaning, you heard the story of Kriyat Yam Suf how many times? X amount of times. You heard the story of Moshe Rabbeinu coming from Mount Sinai how many times? X amount of times. There's a mitzvah that we're obligated to do every single year on Pesach, coming up in a few weeks. That you are obligated all night to study all night everything that happened from Mitzrayim all the way to Mount Sinai. Even if you are Rav Kanievsky, even if you are the Gdol Ador, you're obligated with the same mitzvah as us little people. Why? Go over the story again, but I heard it last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. Go over it again. Number one, you could understand something new from the same story all the time, because Torah, it never ends. That's number one. Number two, if someone teaches you this specific thing, if someone is about to tell you a story, and you interrupt and saying, I heard it, you could be ruining something for them. You could be ruining something for them. Number one, maybe they wanted to try something out by teaching somebody, and you just stole that opportunity for them. Now this guy that was about to teach you something, all he needed was one student to say, wow, what a story, and he was going to become a Mesakeh Rabbi. He was going to start teaching people every week, and he was actually going to succeed and get people to do tshuva every week. And every week people do tshuva, people go to Hashem, people do this, do this. But you ruined it. Why? You thought, oh yeah, I heard it already. I heard the story about Moshe Rabbeinu. I heard it. Already destroyed his confidence. He now wants to go back to be an engineer now. He wants to go back and go cut hair again. He doesn't want to be a teacher anymore. Why? You said I heard it. The magnitude of you saying I know, you just destroyed millions of lives potentially. Two, second reason. Many times, if you're a speaker, you actually learn while you speak. If you speak out loud, you're learning. You actually end up learning from your own speech, from you saying it yourself. Why? When you read, if you're reading it in a secular way, you read anything in a secular way, all you're doing is reading with your eyes. When you read in a religious way, you read like a Ben Torah, like a Jew, you're reading with both your eyes and with your lips, meaning you're saying the words out loud. You don't necessarily need to say, hey, Baruch Atah Hashem, like, some people that never do a blessing the whole year, but one time you do a blessing, but they want to make sure the whole synagogue hears. The guy hasn't done a blessing since 1942. But he comes to the Beit Knesset, Baruch Atah Hashem. Okay, guy, I get you. It's only an apple. Relax. Relax. It's only an apple. We got you. It's an apple. You know the blessing. It's good for you. Not everybody has to hear Baruch Atah. Okay, fine. You do every blessing like that? If you do, you should be Moshe Rabbeinu. But it's all for Darwin, for the show off. So anyway, sometimes you learn simply by hearing yourself, because now instead of just your eyes, instead of your eyes and your lips, now you're also using your ears. Because when you speak out loud and you're repeating something, you're sharpening your own skills, and you're also now seeing other people's reaction. And a lot of things happen, and now since you've repeated it out loud, all the thoughts that you had before get rewinded, and now you start getting new thoughts. And you start getting a chidush from your own speech. From your own, I can tell you many times, during the shiur itself, I got a chidush. Many times. Literally, I think it's at least once a week. If not every week. Every shiur. Always a chidush during the shiur. That's just the way it works. So now, if somebody's about to give you a chidush, or some story that you heard 1,000 times already, and you say, no, I know already, and you cut their story up in half, tell them, no, I know, you could have potentially just killed their chidush. Then now they're not going to get a chidush because of you. So the character trait that we all have to develop is to have enough patience to let people finish what they're going to say, even if you heard it. Especially if it's Torah. Especially if it's Torah. If it's shtuyot, if it's the guy is telling you the same story about how he got into an accident in his car, and and there was a fender bender, and the guy came from the left, and then from the right, and then the light, and the blue, and the red, and he tells you a poker hand. People that play poker, they love to tell you the story about every single hand they ever played. Oh, and he had aces, and he had queens, and then I said yes, and I called him. And they tell you every single hand they ever played. Or people that go fishing. People that go fishing, and they tell you, oh, listen, that day the sky was blue, the clouds were on the right side, the sun was shining on me, but I think it was really on him. And the fish, I'm telling you, those fish were talking to me. They were talking, I was going to get one that day. And I'll tell you the whole story about the fish, and the whole fishing story. And it's a famous thing. People that fish, people that play poker, people that, in general, do certain things, they like to repeat the stories. It's like they live vicariously through their own stories. That you don't have to listen to again. If you have the time and you have the ability and you want to develop really, really good manners, and it's somebody that's important, like your father, your mom, you have to. That's something else. But if it's just some guy that's just wasting your time, you have no obligation to listen to it. Just somebody that's a random person that's just wasting your time, wants to tell you poker stories or fishing stories, you have no obligation to listen to it. But if it's Torah, you have to listen to it. Number one, you can help him. Number two, you can help yourself. Number three, you could potentially, there's part of the story you never heard. Even though you heard the whole story 1,000,000 times, there's maybe he's going to mention one fact that you never heard that's going to complete the story for you.